What's up, everybody? I am shooting live from the old set. Just kidding. This is actually my desk. There will be a new background coming soon, but I do got this new cool microphone. I got a nice webcam you guys are looking at. It's looking pretty good on my end of production value. You guys can't see everything else. Maybe I'll take the webcam off and show you guys my desk here in a second. But it is me, Tim. This is the Investing Bros. We got another live show coming your way. Great stuff happening today. Chris Inks is joining the show to talk about the next move for Bitcoin. Because guess what, guys? Big move is coming. And a lot of us do believe it's to the upside, but is there a chance it goes to the downside? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more in this episode. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys go ahead and smash that like button. And if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. We are fast growing. Everything is developing on the daily basis. And yeah, I just saw in chat, MLFL point out, no hat Tim today too. Yeah, I decided with the shadows, I think I need to get one more light. I guess you get some background lights and stuff too. I was like, let's not cast any shadows on my face. We'll go no hat today. I do have a head of hair, technically at this point, more than my son Brody, but that could change in the near future. You never know. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-hosts this morning, starting off with the Florida man, Mr. T. Shroom. How are you doing this morning, Shroom?
Tim, I'm doing way better than I deserve. Just going to start off, going to be honest with you. Man, yesterday was a crazy whirlwind. Got a lot of work done. Now I'm ready to dive back into these markets and see what is going on. Man, we had so many shows yesterday. Piper did his new show, Tactical Trades, and we launched our first ever Twitter Spaces, and I thought it went really well. We got to have Jenna X on. That was a lot of fun. And, of course, we did our morning show yesterday. So it was show after show after show. 3 shows on Mondays now. It's almost like we're getting close to 24-hour crypto and investing news broadcast. But I do have a quote for us today, because we are definitely planting the seeds of success for the future. And Warren Buffett said something along those lines. He said, "Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." Man, that is some good imagery, some good wisdom from the OG investor himself, Mr. Warren Buffett. He is definitely somebody who I've admired for a long time, and I know that his trading style is kind of falling out of favor into the future because of his relationship with risk. But he's definitely a legend in his own right, and I think he is as well. And his fund isn't doing too bad this year, that's for sure. The Berkshire Hathaway. So I thought it was pretty good.
But boom. Yeah, I think there's some background noise going on. I don't know if that's on Piper, or I think Inks might be in the call. Inks, Chris, if you're there, maybe if you want to hit mute button, we're going to bring you on here in a couple of minutes. But there we go. I think that's a little better. Really quick, I got my quote of the day, the Michael Scott quote of the day, because that's the one that has been keeping us going here. Did I not share my screen? Yeah, here we go, Piper. We restarted the link because of technical difficulties, because this is Investing Bros. There we go. You can share my screen now. This is the real goal that everyone should have in life, and Michael Scott puts it perfectly. I want to be married and have 100 kids so I can have 100 friends, and no one can say no to being my friend.
Beautiful.
If you guys need a friend today, Michael Scott's got you. We'll be your friend too. Here are the Investing Bros. Everyone's a bro. Whether you're male, female, dog, cat, you can be whatever you want to be, and you're still a bro, and you have a friend here. Straight from Michael Scott. We're also joined this morning by Mr. Army Piper, running the production, running the evening shows now, just doing everything, because he is a Swiss Army knife and an Army Piper. Piper, how you doing this morning?
Tim, I'm not doing as good as I'd like to be doing. I want to be contrarian to T-Shroom today. So I want to do better.
There we go.
I want to do better, and every day I strive to do better. I want to add more gadgets to my Swiss Army knife life. So
there we go.
And by the way, your quote, both of your quotes, I'd like to make comments on. T-Shrooms, absolutely. That's generational income that I'm trying to build. I'm trying to plant a tree today for shade in the future for my kids. And 2, on your quote, my kids, both of them, my friends now. So that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
They're both functioning adults, making their way in life. And yeah, I like getting on and playing some games with them and stuff like that. They're my friends, and they can't say no. So
Yeah, it's a great tactic. I mean, it's a great tactic to have 100 kids so you have 100 friends. And Michael sums it up pretty nicely there. Well, let's go ahead, guys. Let's go ahead and jump on into the next part of the show. You guys know it. You guys love it. It is the reading of names. But first, we got over 70 people watching. Thank you to every single last one of you guys. I'm going to try to read as many of your names as possible. You got to chat for me to do that, and you got to be early because I can't get all of you. But go ahead and leave a chat, and maybe we'll read your name a little bit later. And that like button. But guys, there's a first. I commented first today. I don't know what happened. Like, yeah, the stream was posted a little early, but I've never once commented first in this YouTube. Uh, but first of you guys, which is the one that really counts. Amello used to it for coming in second was ADA Ace. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ADA Ace. Glad to see you here. T-Shroom with the blue wrench coming in third. Justin, everyone's favorite non-president that has a basement full of bones. Good to see you here, Alex. Even if I heard that Alex has a very pessimistic view of Bitcoin. So it's gonna be interesting to hear when we're not gonna be able to hear him today, but when he gets to hear what we talk about today, because we're talking about the next move of Bitcoin. And a little birdie told me, Alex, that you believe that Bitcoin still could hit 11,000. Let me know in chat if that's false, and I'll beat up the source. Let's see who else is here. Bedridden with the blue wrench is here this morning. Today, I think that's in about 73 years is when we're going to do that. Who else do we have? Mike Lowry here with the blue wrench, which, speaking of Mike Lowry, I don't know if you're in Discord or not. We need you to get in Discord because we have a channel for our mods. So I definitely want to get you in there so we can communicate with you. But thank you so much for being here. Remington Peralt is here. Mike Volmer is here. Speaking of mods, Mike Volmer is a mod over on the BitBoy channel. So it's so good to read your name here in chat, Mike. Glad you made it over here. Who else do we have? Crypto JMP, Dustin Singer. Let's see. Let's get 5 more, and then we're gonna move on. Crypto Pew Pew Cruz. Why did it take so long to read that name? That's good to see you here, though, Crypto Pew Pew. Ninja Glock is here. Avocado Bacon is here. Everyone loves avocado and bacon. Here's a fun one. Mayak Mockton. No way in hell that was pronounced correctly, but I'm going to go with it. Brian D. And the last one I'm reading this morning, Nancy Croy. Oh, I got to read one more because this guy's he's in here all the time. Crypto Trades, I can't not read your name. I'm so sorry. Oh, and Crypto Sec, I can't read you. Gosh, there's so many names. There's so many. We got some great people in chat today, and I feel so bad, but I'm going to cut it off there. I can't read any more names, guys. That's it. If I did not read your name, it's not because I don't love you. It's because you didn't comment early enough, and it's because it's time to go ahead and move on with the show. Love you guys. Smash that like button again. We briefly got up over 100 viewers, so we did something right with the title today. You guys are in here, but you need to smash that like button to let people know this is a good show that you need to be in Monday through Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that said, we're moving into our economic outlook for the morning with Mr. Army Piper. Piper, what you got for us today?
All right, Tim. So looking here right off the bat, guys, and I apologize for those out there that were talking about the audio issue. I'm tracking that there was one. I think I fixed it now, though. Not sure why it was doing that. It's just really weird. Hey, Investing Bros wouldn't be the show without a little glitch every now and then. So let's get in here. Looking at Tuesday, July 11th, guys. Today, we don't really have much going on. We do have IBP and economic optimism coming in, pretty much a sentiment indicator. What we're really looking at, though, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 12th, we're going to have the inflation rate month over month, inflation rate year over year coming in, and then core inflation data. Right now, sitting at 5.3%. They are expecting it to be down to 5% for the core inflation. And that inflation rate year over year, expected it to drop all the way down to 3.1 to 3.2. So, interesting thing on that I want to point out is going to be that right now we went up 1/100th of a percent on the trueflation at 2.45. If we are to come in tomorrow and hit these 3.1 or this 3.2, I suspect that the Truflation is going to actually drop in here nicely and give us this little bit of down to that 2% mark on Truflation. Remember, this is the old way of doing methodology before the Federal Reserve changed that info. So let's go ahead and jump over real fast, jump into the liquidation heat map here real quick. $63.4 million in liquidations. A lot of people getting bullish, getting bearish, calling in longs, calling in shorts. Meanwhile, Bitcoin continuing to consolidate in a crab fashion sideways and not really do much except for people that are doing high leverage trading getting wrecked. And that's what we're seeing there. So that's what I've got there, Tim. Let's go ahead and kick it back over to you so that you can check the FOMC.
Yeah, I want to make sure it's not just my audio. Let me know, guys, if for some reason the audio
It was
doesn't
your
sound
internet.
good.
Your
It's
internet
me.
connection.
It was me.
Yeah.
Really?
It's
Here
just
at
your
the Hit
internet.
Network,
Yeah.
is it
It's
good
just in
now?
and out.
Like, is my audio
it's
good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send
All
it.
right. Well, tis what it is. All right, we're going to go and get on here to the CME futures, guys. We're still seeing a 92% chance of another rate hike here in July. So, guys, it's going to happen. Yeah, technically we still have like 2 weeks here, 15 days, but it's going to happen. I don't know what changed. Maybe people are looking at this and saying the inflation's looking better, because today when I'm coming in here, we're actually seeing March now instead of May being the first rate cut prediction here by the CME futures tool. So that's pretty cool. Of course, you guys know we've been tracking it. Sometimes we've seen May, sometimes we've seen June, but it's going to be interesting because, of course, we're a very long way away from this. But it's good news that for some reason today, CME futures is a little more bullish on a rate cut coming sooner rather than later. So that is pretty cool. Let's go over here and check out our Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, sitting to 57, a little bit higher than yesterday's 56. Of course, we had 64 though last week, so we're still a little bit lower on that one. I'm on my computer today, not down in the basement. So we're looking here at I Trust Capital is our ad for the day. No, we don't have an affiliate link here. We should get an affiliate link for I Trust Capital, but you guys have probably heard of them. Great IRA platform, and that is who we're having a sponsor from today. Also, YouTube TV is here again today. You guys know that I love football. Sunday Ticket. I've never actually purchased Sunday Ticket. I just find other ways to watch the NFL. Care way more about college football. With that said, though, let's go ahead and go over here. And I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to go ahead, and I know sometimes, let's see, we just got a chat here. Luigi Fibonacci. Oh, Luigi Fibonacci said, hey, Tim, remember me? I'm the crazy guy that came in December and said Wyckoff accumulation. Guess what? I guess I've been right this whole time, huh? Anyways, I don't think we will see 58-6% dominance. Well, Luigi, love to have you in here.
I remember
Respectfully
Luigi.
disagree. I respectfully disagree. Wyckoff, I love Wyckoff, and I think there's a chance that does happen. Again, my prediction for 6% dominance, guys, remember, is not during this rally. It's actually going to be when we start cutting that I really think the dominance is going to shoot to the upside. But we'll get Chris's take here in just a second. I want to do a quick rundown, though. He's going to come on and do charts, but when you're looking, they're going to be blocked by some of this. So I'll make sure I'm not covering all of it. We're seeing on my portfolio this morning, the big mover this morning is Solana. Is anyone out doing Solana? No. CAV is at 3%, but Solana up about 4% this morning. It is the big, kind of the big leader right now. You guys can see it more recently broke out of a falling wedge pattern. So is it making another push? We'll have to wait and see. Needs to get above probably about $26 for some real weight to come in. Our biggest loser on the watch board, though, let's see, who do we have here? 1.56 for VeChain. That looks like it. Looks like the biggest loss. 1.69 on Bitcoin CME futures, but that doesn't really count. So VeChain, biggest loser on my watch list. Solana, the biggest winner. We have things. ADA had a decent morning. I think it went up and touched 30 cents here a little bit ago, back down to 29, about 29.1 cents. But as a whole, mixed morning for crypto. We'll have to kind of track what's happening with that as we keep going on with the show. But let's go ahead, go back to BroCam. Let's bring on Mr. Chris Inks. First of all, Chris, how are you doing today out there in Texas? We got 2 Texas men today. How's your side of Texas doing today?
Hot.
Yeah.
It's been
right. Yeah.
It's been kind of hot around here lately. Our heat index been getting up there. I don't know, like a few weeks ago, they said it was up there with how it is like in Saudi Arabia or something like that. I don't know. It was hot.
Dang.
It was hot. Roads buckling, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I listen, there's a lot of favorable laws in Texas and Florida. I get it. You guys are living the lawful dream. I'm not going to say I agree with every single law passed here in Georgia, but I'm loving the mountains. Yeah, it gets hot during the middle of the day, but I'm telling you, like literally every single night I get home, it's like getting down to like the low 70s at night here in Georgia. Yeah, we'll jump up to 92, 93 in the middle of the day, but I'm in here in this great building with some great AC, and then at nighttime it feels beautiful, and I love it. Fun fact, someone Crimson just said, is Crimson Caravan Company is raining in Dallas. Well, it's not raining here in Dallas. I live in Dallas, Georgia, and temperature-wise, Dallas, Georgia has Dallas, Texas beat for sure. With that said, though, we're not here to talk about the weather and about Texas and Georgia and Florida. We're here to talk about some crypto. And Chris, let's start off with this. I do have some questions ready for you guys, for you to answer about Bitcoin. But let's just start off with your charts. What are you seeing for Bitcoin maybe over the next couple of days, next couple of months, next couple of years? What are you seeing on the charts that's popping off to you this morning?
Well, all right. Let's see here. Let me pull this up. You guys got me there? There it is.
There we go.
All right, so I've got a few different charts I've talked about for quite a while now. This big one, this is longer term. This is this bear market to bull market stages here. This is based off the weekly, and you get the you print the swing low, then you get a cross above the 20 MA. Step 3 is you wait for that 28, confirms the support, and then you rally 61.8% of the bear market. You complete around the Ichimoku Cloud's highest point. And then you pull back and prepare for the big rally in step 5. And so right now, we've got the pullback and retest here of so step 3, the retest of that 20 MA support. And now we're rallying up and we're getting ready to break out through the cloud here. You can see we've got, let me zoom in here a little bit more. You see we've got some sideways here just below the cloud top there. But once we pop through that, we should have a pretty easy move on up. But yeah, 61.8, kind of gets us up here around the low 50s kind of area. So big picture is that's what I'm looking for. I've been talking about the idea that we would get this rally on up here toward that, the 50,000 kind of area, probably by like the end of this year. And then we get a pullback down into halving so this would be like a wave 1 up, wave 2 down into halving, and then wave 3 kind of breaking out there. So that's my overall kind of what I'm looking at to happen. Mm-hmm. So let me kind of get this back over here now. If we get local though, there we go. And let me take off these Bollinger Bands here real quick. So again, locally, it's been what I've been talking about. Over here, that swing low in June began the accumulation phase. We had a terminal shakeout over here in November. And when you get this terminal shakeout, you usually have a bit of sideways before you break on back up. And then we had that completion of the accumulation area. That's our jump across the creek over here back around in March. Rallied up. We pulled back. This is where everybody was freaking out for 2 months saying, oh my God, we're going back down. We're going back down. It was just, our back up the edge of the creek, which is just basically a retest of the previous range of the previous accumulation ranges, the top of that range. And then, of course, 6-7 days up, we recoup everything we lost there. We're sideways now. And so overall, the way I'm looking at this is that we've got this 1-2, 1-2 going on, and that gives us a minimum expected wave circle 3 here. So this 1, 2, 3 of the larger 3, right there around 43,380. So, I mean, that's kind of overall what I'm looking for on it. Now, does that mean we can't pull back a little bit here? Nah, we can pull back a little bit here. Right now, we're sitting above the daily pivot. So, especially as long as that's holding, there's absolutely no reason to even be thinking lower. If we lose that, yeah, maybe we can come down here to the S1 at 26,000, 26,400, maybe something like that. But until you get that breakdown, that follow through down there, our thought should be we're going to probably break out. But you want to wait. We're just going sideways, guys. Too many people get involved in the ranges, right? And they get here in the middle of the range and they start longing and shorting. And this right here is not the place to enter a trade. This is the middle of this range. Wait for it to either give you something down here at the bottom of the range or something at the top of the range. to either, break out or reject, or break down or reject, then you think about getting in. I mean, but people get kind of bored, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question right there, Chris. I think you could talk a lot about, because again, you have years of experience trading. How do you? Because I've felt this before. How do you fight off urges sometimes? Because I think sometimes people put like unneeded pressure on themselves to make X amount of trades either a day or X amount of trades a week or a month. And I've seen it before. I've felt it before. That concept of like, man, I haven't entered a trade in like a couple days. I need to find my way into the trade here. How would you advise people to really help them stay away from that feeling and say, hey, just wait for the really good spots? Because it's easy to say, hey, just wait. Hey, don't trade right here. But I know it. Like people have that feeling. Sometimes people just want to get into a trade today, right now. They're in the mood. They're sitting at home all day. They can watch the charts. They're like, why not? Everything's a perfect scenario right now for me to trade today. How do you fight that temptation? How do you advise people to fight that temptation?
Well, the first thing is, like anything else in life, it gets less difficult the longer you do it. So it doesn't mean that things actually become easy, or that, I've been doing this for, almost 30 years, so I don't have any emotion at all. We're human beings. We have emotion, and
Yeah.
impatience is part of an emotion, the result of an emotion. And so it's not that you're ever not going to feel that, but it is that the longer you do it correctly, the more confidence you build, and that confidence in your system and what you're doing and your understanding of markets helps you, not jump into it as much. But like you said at the beginning there, and for a while, you fight that a lot. And I don't know if there's really an easy way to deal with it. I mean,
Mm.
a lot of people get in, and a lot of it's from their expectations, right? So a lot of people come into trading, especially crypto, because they see this, price just shoots up just like stupid, 100%, 200%. And that's what draws a lot of people in. And we used to, and then there's the leverage, right? And so before crypto came out,
Yeah.
everybody was, the degens were in, were Forex, because you had the high leverage and everything. And so now they're over here in crypto, and you come in with this idea that you're going to get these really big returns all the time. You can do all this great. And so that all kind of leads to it, this idea of, well, I just can't sit there. I've got in my head, I've got this idea that I'm going to buy this island, and I'm going to have 57
Mhm.
sports cars on it. They're all going to be $1 million+. I'm going to have a helicopter flying in and a boat, a yacht. But see, everybody kind of makes that all up in their head, and then that influences their emotions when it comes to the chart, right? And so the only thing I can really suggest is you've got to be honest with it. And it's hard when you first come in. You don't know what you're doing, and all the big names
Mhm.
on crypto Twitter are just like boasting about how much they supposedly made or something, and it's hard to rein in your emotions when that happens. But it does take a bit of maturity. I guess that's probably the word I'm going to use here is maturity. You have to understand you're not going to get rich overnight as a trader. It's just not going to happen, guys. It's kind of like the lotto, right? Let's say you do happen to get on something spectacular, and a few months later you've turned $10,000 into $2 million. Okay, that's great. You know what's going to happen? You're going to lose it all. Same thing with people that buy lottery tickets. Same thing
Yeah.
with people that go to the casinos. They happen to get lucky and get a thing, but it's because the mindset is the same, right? It's that whole let's get rich quick thing, but you're not
Yes.
prepared for that, and so then you continue doing the same things you did. And you think, oh, I'm going to make this even more, and then you just kind of run it into the ground. So I guess just kind of that whole
Yeah.
maturity thing about understanding you're not going to get rich overnight. But if
You know,
you work on your system and you concentrate on your system, then you've got a chance of proper risk management. Then you've got a chance over time. Time plus
Mm.
compounding. That's a big secret.
Yeah, I love what you said there, because I've said this before. I would rather be a guy who gains 10% trading the right way than a guy who gets one great trade where I 1,000x on that trade, but I used poor TA, poor logic, poor reasoning. I just got lucky, because you're right. The temptation when you get lucky doing something stupid is to do it again.
Yeah.
Versus you do things the right way. Yeah, you're going to lose some. There's no such thing as perfection. But people need to remember, when it comes to trading, the goal is not to be right about 100% of your trades. The goal is to be right 70%, 80%. And when you get that consistency and you learn to be not only consistent, but you learn to take the right trades at the right time, and your percentage. I think Piper here, didn't we calculate Piper over this last month? You've been right on 90% of your trades or something like that. You haven't made $1 million, but you
89.1% over the
yeah,
past 12 months.
it's like super close. And it's like, that's the goal. The goal isn't to say I made one trade where I made $1 million, because that same logic is going to make you have one trade where you lose $1 million, like what Chris is saying here. The goal is I made 75 trades and made X amount of money, but I was right about X percentage of them. And I think another thing. Oh, you had Piper?
Yeah, I dropped over here into Brocam though, because I got to tell you, I have a psychological weakness. When I have a good trade and I make good profits, I want to bubble wrap it. Like, I'm afraid to get into another trade too soon. So I'm on the opposite spectrum, because I will miss some good moves, because I'm like, I just made a bunch of, free Ethereum, because I trade inverse contracts. So my Ethereum goes into longs and shorts. And so my profit is all in Ethereum. So like I make free Ethereum. I'm adding to my bag with that. And I'm like, man, I just made like 3.2 Ethereum. I'm afraid to lose any of this free Ethereum I just got. It's funny because the free Ethereum is worth more to me than the Ethereum that I'm putting up for the trade. So
No,
it's true.
I think.
I mean, yeah. Good.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I just think that's a great point that he brought up. Basically, I mean, if people aren't listening, I hope they heard that. Because the one thing that I teach, traders, I've been teaching for years, is that emotions, whether you're kind of downtrodden because you've had a bunch of losses or something in a row, or you're extremely happy because you made some good trades, either way, they're going to operate the same way on you. They're going to make you emotional. And then when you're emotional, you're going to make bad trades. So I don't see any problem with that at all. If you get excited because you've done well, it's okay to step back until you calm back down, until, you kind of come back down to that mid-range again in your head, because otherwise you're likely to make some pretty bad mistakes. So I hope people are listening to that, because that's a really great point that you made there. And I think it's important that people do understand that you don't have to just continue on.
Yeah, I preach all the time. Not having a position is a position, and it's okay. So
that's true. It's true. No, I think the other thing, and we're going to move on, get back into some Bitcoin talk here. The other thing, even going back to original question, Chris, maybe you've had this issue, maybe you've encountered people with this issue, but I know this was one of my issues I had to kind of counter myself on a long time ago. You hear about these people's abilities to make X amount per day. So this is kind of what sparked my even question. I literally at one point was like, I was doing some math. I was like, if I could just trade with this much money and I can make 5% per day per trade, I can make $1,000 a day. This, trading with this leverage, and in that case, I raise my income by X amount per month. Oh, this is beautiful. And then that's what forces a lot of people to trade daily, is that concept of they saw someone else say, oh, I make this much money per day, and then they're convinced themselves to make X amount per day in trading, you have to trade every single day. Is that something you've ever struggled with? Or is that something you've ever helped someone get over, that concept of, hey, you got to get the X per day out of your head and think about X per quarter, X per year, because the opportunities are there. They just might not be there every single day.
No, a fantastic point, man. Yeah. When I first started, again, guys, I started just like everybody else. When I was a teenager, I didn't want to work for anybody else. So I figured, okay, I got to trade and I've got to create businesses. So that way I wouldn't have to work for somebody else. But so coming in at the beginning, first few years, just like everybody else, probably lost more money than most people. And so I've been through all this myself. And that's one of the things that I also dealt with. I was like I read in somebody's book at the time. Yes, we read books back then. This was, 1993, 1995 back then. We didn't really have this internet going like this. But yeah, I read it and he was like, oh yeah, so all you got to do is this percent a day. And what I found out is not every day is a tradable day, guys. Sometimes you can go a week without a real reason to trade. And that's the whole thing. People want to get in, like you just said, they're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm losing out on all this money that I could be making, because they can look in hindsight and go, oh, well, I could have traded that in this range.
Right.
It would have been it. But, range trading for most people is non-profitable at all. It's difficult. A lot of people try to get in the middle of ranges. Again, you don't want to do that. But, so yeah, you have to understand that not every day is a tradable day, and not every week is a tradable week. But other than that, whether you're trading crypto, which has I don't even know at this point how many different pairs you can trade, tens of thousands. Or you're trading, in stocks, which have, tons and tons of stocks there, thousands there. You can probably find a trade, but the question is, how far do you have to look? How deep do you have to look to find it? Most people are like, listen, I like to trade this, so I want to force a trade into this. And, you can't do that. When somebody says, listen, I'm making so much a day, like you said, usually it's not that they're trading every single day, because you probably shouldn't be trading every single day. Again, some days are just not great days to trade. But, they're looking at, okay, if I make this much over this many days and average it out per day, that's how much it comes out to. But stop with the idea, guys, that you're going to trade, make like 1% a day or 5% a day or whatever, because that's going to force you, that emotionally, that sucks you into feeling like Tim said, that you have to trade every day. And if you feel like you have to trade every day, then you're going to take stupid trades because you feel like you have to. And that's just, it's going to just cause you to lose money.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh man, that's so good. Well, Chris, let's get back into some Bitcoin talk here. When you were doing TA here just a couple of minutes ago, in case anyone missed it, you're coming in, you discussed the fact that there's another wave that you're looking at that could possibly take us up to about 43,000. Out of curiosity, what is your opinion on, let's start with, what is the timeline you think that could take for us to get the next push? Because the things that we've talked about here recently on the show, I think a big breakout is coming soon. We're seeing on the daily chart, the Bollinger Bands are constricting, a classic sign that movement's coming. Volume, we had a little bit of pump yesterday. That was nice with volume, but volume has been ridiculously low other than the day that we got the announcement that the SEC was rejecting the Bitcoin ETFs. Other than that, this whole phase between 30,000 and 31,000, the volume's been super low, which is another sign something's about to pop, something's about to happen. Based on the TA you gave us, your opinion is that's to the upside. What's the timeline we're looking at to maybe get a push up to 43? And then question after that, do we go higher than 43, or is that the top for the rest of this year?
Yeah, so I'm not really great with time. I learned a long time ago, it was one of those other things, when I first started trading, all these people had all these different ways of saying, hey, it's going to take this long to get there. And I just found most of the time you're going to be wrong on that. So I don't worry about time a whole lot. But when I look at, the halving coming up, and I look at, if we look left on the chart, if we clear the overhead, we've got a pretty easy move up. We got a lot of big candles down. We should have a pretty easy move back up. So, I mean, for me, again, I would look to hit those 40s or 50s, by the end of the year. Now, I think, if we look historically at Bitcoin seasonality, July is usually a pretty good month. So I can see us have some of the pump here and usually it's the last half of July. And so, I can see that happening through there. I could see, I think September is usually a pretty poor month. So I can see some kind of pullback through there. And then we've got a nice pump, maybe the rest of Q4 there. What is that? October through December, and it doesn't have to stop there. I just, I look at it, I look at how Bitcoin normally does, and Decembers are usually tops or bottoms and things like that. And it gives a few months of pullback, because having's what, like November, or it's like end of March, beginning of April, somewhere around there, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, tell me that range.
Yeah. So if we're doing that, if we've got this rally kind of on up through toward the end of the year, November or December, and then we have 3 to 4 months of pullback. I mean, that, again, that's a large, an Elliott wave. That's the large wave one. That's the subwave, first subwave of the next, move up. So you get a good wave one, you get a good wave two, and then wave three is after halving, and you break out to a new all-time high and kind of continue up with that. So, best guess. I think we're probably, we've been sideways now for a few weeks. What is this? Since right about June 21st, June 22nd, right around there. We just got done doing 2 months of basically sideways and pulling back a little bit as we created that wedge. I don't think we'd have anything like that right now. I think, we're probably coming near the end of this consolidation, more likely than not. But, the idea that we would have more consolidation for another 2 months after we just had one for 2 months doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think we're just kind of consolidating after that big, massive move up after that, the 2 months down, 1 week up, and just kind of preparing to potentially pop out higher there.
Yeah, well, let's transition here. So I think what we're gonna do, just so everyone knows, we're gonna keep going with this interview for about another 10 minutes here till about 9:45. Then we'll jump into some stories because there are, despite the fact there's not a lot of big stories today, there are some stories we're gonna cover here. But one of the comments that one of the kind of concepts I want to get into here, and I think one of the stories deals with this, but we're kind of giving a spoiler here. A lot of people believe that an economic disaster still could be coming. That we could see a massive crash in the stock market. We could see. I mean, we talked about yesterday. Just personal retail investor debt has topped $1 trillion, which proves one of the reasons why people are still doing well is not because they're making a lot of money. It's they're going and buying everything at the same rate, just taking out credit card debt to do so. At a certain point, that's got to pop. At a certain point, the debtor's going to come calling. What are your thoughts, Chris, about how the economy will flow in and affect the Bitcoin price over the next couple of months? Is Bitcoin going to be its own thing? Like, is Bitcoin going to be untouched by the economy, even if the stock market crashes? Or do we see it follow the stock market if we do see a big crash? What are your thoughts about what the economy is going to do to Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, definitely. There's this big credit thing going on. We're definitely getting up there, but the difficult thing is figuring out when is it going to pop, right? Could pop
Yeah.
tomorrow, could pop 5 years from now. We don't know, right? And that's the thing. And so people get
True.
scared and their narratives become, listen, it's got to do this and it's got to do this soon. So they argue with you since last November that the price has got to go back down and Bitcoin's up over 100% and NASDAQ and the S&P and everything are up, bull markets and so they've missed all this movement because everybody gets so tied up in what's going on in their head and what they think has to happen versus listen, let's just do what the charts are saying and we'll keep, we'll be open to the possibility of something happening at some point. So I do think that's coming at some point here. I thought it was going to hit back in, for anybody that's followed me for any length of time, I was looking back when we made that all-time, well, actually prior to that, I was looking back at when we had the COVID high there. And then a few months before, I said, no, maybe we're just going to get this pullback that we got and then head up higher. And we've just kind of continued, especially after this last pullback now over the last year, and then we've continued higher now. And so I'm looking, okay, I think we've still got another all-time high coming across these markets. And so what happens? So when it finally does happen, I don't think necessarily that Bitcoin saves anybody. Every time we have a recession or a depression or something, at the first, everything goes down. Metals, gold, silver, stocks, everything goes down. And I see no reason that Bitcoin would be any different. Now, the one thing I've argued for years here is that in that situation, if we were to get a recession or something, so what usually happens is gold or silver, whatnot, they exit that sooner than stocks, right? So everything goes down at first, and then after a bit, gold kind of goes up, and then finally stocks will fall later. I think Bitcoin would have a good chance of actually coming out before maybe gold and something like that. But I don't think it saves anybody. I don't think it goes untouched. I think it still goes down with everything else because at the end of the day, it still trades like a risk on or risk off asset. And so whether that means it is risk off or not is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it trades like one.
Yeah.
And so if we're coming up with something like that, then you'd expect people to kind of take their money out of the riskier assets and put them into something where they can kind of protect them. Now, because Chris, I said that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, just because I said that doesn't mean I think that's actually, it actually has to happen. I'm thinking that's probably the way it would be. We've never been in, any kind of real big kind of lengthy recession or anything with with Bitcoin to see how it would really react. So,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to ask you the hard questions, Chris. With what you just said, I think that makes sense. Until we know something better, I think it's a good point you said. Until we actually see it happen, people like Robert Kiyosaki, I think he's one of the ones we're mentioning here later. He's been calling for like a destruction of American economy for like years now, like multiple years. He acts like it's always happening tomorrow. So you never know when that's happening. I like what you're saying here about, because Bitcoin is starting to get treated more like a commodity like gold or silver. And traditionally, you're saying when we're seeing people are taking their money out of those commodities before the stock market. So that's an interesting concept. So all this is kind of funneling us to a place, Chris, where we got to start asking, all right, if we see an economic downpour, if we see the economy start to crash, maybe this fall, maybe sometime next year, is the Bitcoin bottom in at 15.5 or do we go lower? What is that thought in your opinion?
That's a good one. Yeah. I think if that happens, I think it just says, listen, Bitcoin did its 5 waves up from its inception, and we've got the big wave 2 coming. And so this move up is best case scenario, wave B, worst case scenario,
Mhm.
wave 2 of A.
Okay.
And so we would see a lot lower. If that were to happen, I think we'd see it going down toward 3,000, 1,000, something like that, because it would be
Wow.
it would have to correct off the entire life cycle it's had so far. Because when you think in terms of
Wow.
Elliott wave, 5 waves up and then you get 3 waves back. And so I think it's quite possible we get down that low if it were to happen. Now, obviously, as you know, there are no guarantees in trading. We talk
No,
about the
there's not.
bottom being in because everything out there, all the indicators, everything is saying it is. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the market's going to do what it's going to do. So you just have to be prepared for it. So you trade it like the
Yeah.
bottom's in, and then you just keep your mind, you keep your mind open.
I that's an interesting thought right there, because so we just saw as we crashed down to 15.5 here within the last year or so. We saw a lot of emotions play out, but one of the things we saw was a massive amount of holding. Like, there was pressure, there was attempts, there were people convinced we were going to go even lower than 15.5. But one of the reasons why we ended up holding was because of the amount of people that own Bitcoin refusing to sell. You think that this comes in and changes that, and a lot of people are willing to sell? And because I said last night on our Twitter Spaces, if we see a $3,000 Bitcoin, I'm pretty shook and losing confidence in the stability and future of Bitcoin. Like, to me, I think if we see a $3,000 Bitcoin, something went wrong. There is massive loss of faith in its ability to be a future asset, a future commodity. You're saying you think that could, like, yeah, it's going to suck, but even if we see $3,000 Bitcoin, you think that Bitcoin's still standing strong for what it is for the future?
Sure. Because I think if that happens, again, I kind of back into all this off the charts. And if we're seeing something like that, it's because we're getting a huge downside with stocks and whatnot. The economy's kind of pushing down. And my thought is, listen, it's been almost 100 years since we had a depression. All we've had are, recession since then. So the likelihood, again, is that we would have some sort of depression coming in. And that depression, if we look at after the Great Depression itself, there basically 3-4 years of downside, just a sharp correction there, and then it took 25 years to reach all-time high again. If we look at that as like a wave 2, and since then it's been a wave 3, well, wave 4 as a depression is likely to spend maybe not as far downside, but more time sideways. And so the thought is, if we're going to get that, then everything's going to get shook for a bit. Everything's going to get hit for a bit. But I don't think that necessarily, kills off Bitcoin, because you're still going to have some people that continue to hold.
Yeah, because Eric Wallen just put it in chat. Thank you for that number, Eric. The number was higher, obviously, when price was lower, but even I think he's saying right now, 70% of Bitcoin is being held in cold storage. I need to fact check that. I'm just reading Eric Wallen's message. I trust Eric, but of course we can fact check that. But even that, like, for us to get down to 3,000, a lot of people will have to lose faith. When cold storage, we're not talking about just money sitting on exchanges. Obviously, we're not talking about just people holding Bitcoin. Cold storage people are people that understand Bitcoin and what it can be for the future, and those are the type of people who are like, I refuse to sell. To get down to 3,000, we're going to have to shake some of those people. I think there's a lot that we have to continue to speculate here and think through.
Yeah.
And hopefully we don't have to have that real conversation of what Bitcoin looks like at 3,000. Because again, I would be very concerned about Bitcoin's ability to thrive. But you know what, Chris? You came, you dropped alpha. You're making me have to rethink my take on if a $3,000 Bitcoin could still be healthy. We did just get a super chat from Eric, by the way. Speaking of Eric, saying miners are unprofitable under 20,000. Selling pressure stops. Yeah. The last question here. What is your thought about that? What's your thought about the miners? I do know at a certain point, I'll answer this, but I want to get your answer too. Miners will have to make one of two decisions under 20. If it stays there for a long time, they're either going to have to sell just to keep the lights on, or they're going to have to stop mining. What is your thoughts, Chris, about that miner situation below 20,000?
Well, I think, if you're a miner, you're looking to get as much of the market as possible, just like any business, right? And so when it gets to that point, all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I have to sell my Bitcoin, which I'm going to only have so much of, and or I'm going to have to stop mining. And if I stop mining, that means I'm going to lose some of my market there, and however long I have to stop mining, I'm going to lose larger and larger shares, which means the large miners are able to, hold out. They're able to mop up, soak up all that. And so I think that really becomes a difficult, a real difficult decision for miners. I don't think people really understand. We're not talking about, Jim and Joe miner, down the street. We're talking about these big companies worth hundreds of millions of dollars or more. And, within them, even the smaller big boys are still going to feel it. And so, yeah, I mean, you get under that, you're going to sell to try and keep it in. You're hoping it doesn't go a lot lower, but you hedge along the way as well, or at least you should be, because, again, when you're dealing with commodities and price fluctuations and stuff, you should be hedging. But, you get down below there and you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And the ones that end up surviving that, as in any other thing we're doing in the world here, are the big ones, the ones who have the ability to get more investors, even in tight times, the ability to get loans, even in tight times, those that can kind of wait it out. And that's the way it always is. We see it with oil all the time. I'm in Texas. We talk about oil. And, when oil's going up and prices, hitting $80, $100 a barrel, you got wildcatting everywhere, mom and pop shops popping holes in the ground everywhere. But when you start pulling back to $60, you start going lower there, all of a sudden they're all out. And the only ones left are the big guys. And they start soaking up more of that they've got out there for the next run. So, yeah, it's not really a lot of difference there with the oil.
Well, that's interesting. Well, Chris, it's getting time. We're gonna have to move on into stories, but it's been awesome having you here. You're really breaking my heart though with some of this analysis you're dropping. I'm gonna give you one more chance to make me feel better. Really quickly, what's the highest Bitcoin dominance can get to ever again, namely before this next bull market? What's your take on the highest it can get?
Right now, I've actually had to adjust my account a few times here after we broke 50 because it just kept on pushing up, so it kept subdividing. So right now I'm looking at least probably around 56 at least. I could see this continue to subdivide higher. It's just doing that right now. So yeah, it's, we look at round numbers. So, if you're 56, potentially 60, maybe. I don't know that we get there, but the possibility is there. The possibility, just because of how we've been consistently subdividing after we broke 50 there. So yeah.
Chris, that's all I needed. You've made me feel a lot better today, saying I need more brothers in arms about this 60% business with Bitcoin dominance. So thank you so much. Guys, make sure you go follow Chris. His links are down below. Of course, you see his Twitter handle right there below his face. This guy has been just a world of knowledge for years now in the trading game. You absolutely want to be in his community. I can't wait to have him back on. We got to continue this conversation possibly in the next couple of weeks over on a Twitter Spaces. This would be phenomenal. With that said, though, Chris, thank you so much for coming on today. Love having you here. We'll see you again next time.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
Whew, good. Yeah, he freaking breaking my heart with this talk of $3,000. He makes good points, but
you just needed bias confirmation for your 60% dominance. That's all.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. I had to throw that out there at the end. I just need more people. It's because I get bullied here at the Hit Network because I think I'm the only person in this entire building who believes that we'll make it to 60%. And so I just got to find some allies.
You're the victim, Tim.
I want to clarify for people that
good.
I want to clarify for people that were listening in but did not process what he said. He did not say it was going down to 3,000. He thinks it's very unlikely. He was asked specifically, how low do you think it could go if all of these events of recession and black swan and this and that, and that is where that number came from. He never said that it was going down to there. So
that words to be fair.
Words have meaning.
To be fair, the other thing about that people need to make sure they're taken away, which was a main point there, we were also discussing at what price level, because even though we all believe in Bitcoin long term, it is not 100% that Bitcoin makes it. Like there's a non-zero probability that Bitcoin dies and goes to zero. So we were even having the conversation of how low could Bitcoin's price get before you start to really consider a Bitcoin to zero prediction. And he's saying, even if we see a 3,000, I believe he even mentioned kind of a 1,000. He made it sound like Bitcoin, theoretically speaking, could get down to 3,000 and still be primed for a future that gets to over $1 million. Yeah.
You can have some EV car company come out tomorrow with a battery that gets 1,500 miles per charge and owns the proprietary patent on that battery, and Tesla goes to zero. Like, anything can happen, but no one's saying, when we were talking about this, like, he actually gave numbers that were like 46,000 to 50,000. He was then asked, how low could it go? So I just want to make sure that people that are saying things understand that, that was a specific pointed question of how low could it go. And obviously it can go down that low. It can go to zero. So,
yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm still sitting in a spot. Well, last thing, T-shirt, then we'll move on. Last thing, and then we'll move on. I'm still in a spot where if Bitcoin touches like 11,000, 10,000, I'm still sitting comfortable. I just want to buy more. I loved what he said. I want to think more on it, but I'm just be honest. If we ever see a $3,000 Bitcoin again, I am going to be a person seriously concerned about the future of the project. But maybe my opinion can be changed in the future. Hopefully, we don't even have to get there. Hopefully, we never see a new bottom on Bitcoin. Hopefully, the bottom is in and everything's good. But anyway, yes, let's go ahead, T-Shroom. We got a couple headlines here. We probably won't have too much discussion with these headlines. That was some great talk over there with Chris. But there are some headlines we want all of you guys to be aware of. So, T-Shroom, let's go ahead and run through them.
Yeah, just absolutely. Just really quickly, got the Nasdaq is selling a little bit, down 0.2%, and then your Dow and your S&P are actually up. So you're seeing a little bit of a rotation of security this morning. But getting into news headlines, U.S. Senator Tupperville asked DOJ and the SEC to investigate crypto broker Prometheum, which is the resurrected FTX, essentially. You could think about it like that. Prometheum may have provided false testimony to Congress or violated U.S. securities laws. The open letter began. The lawmaker said Prometheum CEO Aaron Kaplan told Congress that it developed its own blockchain platform independently starting in December 2019. However, in SEC filing filed through 2021, Prometheum said it depended on a Chinese blockchain firm, and Tupperville alleged it had ties to the Chinese Communist Party. So those are some pretty serious allegations there, and it's not the first time that Tupperville has made these allegations. The lawmaker previously wrote an opinion piece for the Wall Street Journal alleging that Prometheum's ties to the Chinese blockchain and its broker approval could present threats to the data security and privacy of American investors. So getting some due research, some good due diligence there from Senator Tupperville. So we'll see how that kind of unfolds. But moving along, Robert Kiyosaki splashing in the headlines today after a 2:26 a.m. tweet, and he's in Phoenix, so I guess that's actually not that late for Eastern Standard Time. But anyway, August 2023, from in Johannesburg, South Africa, BRICS nations announced gold-backed crypto. U.S. dollar will die. Trillions of U.S. dollars rush home. Inflation through the roof. Buy gold, silver, Bitcoin to 120K next year. This one right here in line with the prediction yesterday from Standard Chartered, the British bank. So a big tweet there from Robert Kiyosaki. A lot of people take his words very seriously. Microsoft confirms more job cuts on top of 10,000 layoffs announced in January. So that's another big movement in the job story moving forward. And then here's an interesting one. Vanguard Group buys 10% stake in Bitcoin miner Riot. So more than likely going to see a little more upside this today with some of those Bitcoin miners. Got another one here. Jack Dorsey's block to launch complete set of Bitcoin mining hardware and software early next year. So Jack Dorsey trying to get into the retail sales of Bitcoin mining. I don't know about the timing there. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve that he knows that others don't. Well, I'm going to leave it there, guys. This has been the headlines. We had a very short market open. I'll just tell you, essentially there's not a ton going on. As you see the numbers here on the S&P and the Nasdaq, they're fairly small, fairly subdued. Not a lot of movement one way or another as the market continues to try to digest a lot of these market forces we're observing. But yeah, that's going to be it. That's really all that's going on in the morning news and market open.
Yeah, well,
Sweet.
I mean, I guess we got like 5 minutes left here. We can do a little bit of discussion here. I think one thing to kind of mention, we kind of mentioned it here with Chris. I was going to go, Robert Kiyosaki, first of all, great author. He wrote a great book, titled Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Some great insight in there. It's about even like what the world looks like and why people stay in poverty. It's conversations we've had on this show.
Mhm.
The powers that be in this world. And I'm not just talking about the American government or the Chinese government. I'm talking about governments as a whole. They don't want poor people to be educated and know how to invest wisely and how to make money wisely. Some countries still have a caste system, but guess what? The world operates with a caste system. To make certain people rich, they have to see poor people. So things and thoughts like that, Robert Kiyosaki hits it around the head. I will say, Robert Kiyosaki, when it comes to economic just disaster here in the United States, he's becoming a little bit of a boy who cries wolf. Again, he's been saying that. I got invested into Bitcoin back in 2020. Even before then, I was aware of who he was. I remember 2019, 2018 reading articles, Robert Kiyosaki calling for an American disaster. He was convinced that the pandemic was what the catalyst was, that during the pandemic, that was when you're going to see an American economic bubble be popped. 50% of Americans go into poverty, yada, yada. That was the doom and gloom this guy was talking about. And here we are 5 years later, 4 years later. Yeah, there's some things that are still not great. Yeah, I think we're headed for a recession, but he still talks as if like the apocalypse is coming here tomorrow and you better get ready with your cans of beans and get your rice because you're going to be headed to the caves. And it's like, hey, Robert, love you. Take a pill called
Well,
chill for a second.
his comment doesn't really make a lot of sense anyways, because if his reasoning is that there's a gold backed cryptocurrency coming out from BRICS and that's going to be the threat to the fiat dollar, then why wouldn't the money go into the gold backed cryptocurrency versus Bitcoin? One, and two, who owns the most gold on the entire planet? The United States. So
In France.
Yeah.
It's like France and the UK. Well, I think what he's saying is he's kind of gesturing towards a second and third order effects where, as you see a decline in the United States, U.S. Citizens are less inclined to put their money into a BRICS currency or some kind of untested currency, right? That could happen. There will be some American citizens that do make that decision, but I think most folks would probably try to seek alternatives to the dollar as the dollar declines because liquidity is flowing into that other new currency. But a lot of American citizens would just look elsewhere, and then gold, just proper spot gold ETFs would make a lot of sense, and then Bitcoin would make a lot of sense. But I mean, a lot of people would probably just buy Nasdaq and S&P stocks more than they would have before in an attempt to try to mitigate some of the inflationary effects that a major currency competitor coming onto the world stage would have. So I think that's what he's kind of referencing there, is just the general destabilization of the dollar would have people destabilization of the dollar would have people looking elsewhere outside of the dollar, and one of those would be Bitcoin. So yeah, I don't think because I just don't see a bunch of 401k holders flooding into the BRICS currency. I think that the international community absolutely will look into that, but Americans won't, and there'll be a lot of propaganda being sprayed out so that 401k holders don't.
yeah, I just posted it in the chat for everyone because people were asking if it was. Yes, the United States holds the largest stockpile of gold reserves in the world by a margin of over 8,100 tons. The United States government has almost as many reserves as the next three largest gold holding countries in the world, which is Germany, Italy, and France. We have a ton of gold. Go ahead and make a gold backed crypto. The United States is going to be rich as hell.
Yeah, there's a question asked earlier in chat, kind of changing as we're closing out today. Someone asked if Bitcoin made it to 3,000, what would that mean for ADA? By the way, I went and posted, be about 2 cents. Just in case anyone's wondering, just use some very simple analysis. The last time Bitcoin saw $3,000, we're talking about December of 2018. Well, guess what? Just keep it simple. You know, that's the best way. Keep it simple, stupid. December of 18 for Cardano, we're sitting at 2 cents. December of 18 for Ethereum, we're sitting at $82. Let's see, XRP, December of 18. Give me a second. Got to get back here. We're looking at, where are we? December of 18. Come on now with me. We're looking at, the price got lower because of lawsuits and stuff, but we're looking at a price of 28 cents on XRP. That's actually really not that bad. XRP probably could drop lower than that, but that's where it was back in December of 2018. Again, I want to make sure people remember this, reiterate this. Chris Inks is not calling for a $3,000 Bitcoin. That needs to be said. We were playing devil's advocate. We were talking worst case scenarios. We were trying to prepare ourselves because that's what good conversations happen with. They happen when you talk about extremes. We talk about extreme highs. We talk about extreme lows. He's not predicting that. But he's also saying if X happens, Y happens, Z happens, $3,000 for Bitcoin is not the death of Bitcoin. That's the point you guys should be walking away this show with. Chris Inks is amazing. Make sure you guys go follow him once again. Guys, that's all we have for you this episode. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you smash that like button. We still have over 100 people watching, but only 81 likes. That is rookie numbers. I think there's 40 of you right now who have not smashed that like button. Smash it on the way out. Also remember, tonight I will be on Around the Blockchain at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come join me. And in case you missed it, this is now official. Piper has tactical trades going live every single night from 6 to 6:45 Eastern Standard Time. Last night, he knocked it out of the park. Come join him for the second episode tonight. Same place, same time. You're not going to regret it. With that said, guys, that's all we have for you in today's show. We are the Investing Bros, the most generous crypto community here on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow morning. You guys have a great day.
Tryna make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Tryna make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.